I was like, okay, somebody doing some big things. Then I need to get up here off the property. Be like, one, two, three. Uh-oh. It didn't charge. Do, 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 do. Cool. Check. 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. 1, 2. 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. All right, we 1 minute behind. It might be a problem because who Anchor Yang ain't here.
Is this anybody's frame? Just want to check. Clear? No, you good? So, I just yeah, that's what I thought.
So you got to track your own package? Yeah.
Audio check just to make sure you're good. Are you good on audio? Good on audio? Check one, check two, check one, check two.
I hear you. It should be all good.
All right, appreciate it.
In front of the school, up on the sidewalk. Hopefully we can get in and get out. Got my phone on. All right, y'all ready to go? It was last Thursday, right? It was last Thursday? Okay. All right, good morning. Y'all ready? All right, good morning. My name is Harry Daniels. Along with myself, Attorney Gerald Griggs. We have the honor to represent Lenir Johnson Hunt. Also standing with us, his mother, Sharita Johnson Hunt. This morning, we called this press conference, one, to allow Mr. Johnson Hunt to speak out, one, what transpired, what happened, and some of the misinformation that's been provided in this matter. Let me say this, first and foremost, that Mr. Johnson Hunt, Lenir, was on the right school bus. It was a dereliction of duty from the adults who had a duty to, one, ensure that a student is on the correct bus, which he was, and for his safety. I know been a lot of echoing, like, why didn't he just get off the bus? And we're going to explain this morning why it was imperative for Lenir to go home. And one of the reasons it was imperative for him to go home because he had an autistic little brother who was going to get home before him or right after him, and he had to be at home to meet his brother at home. So it was imperative for him to get home, not just to get there, but to ensure the safety of his little brother. And a lot of that have not been spoken about, talked about in the media or on social media, but we want to put some context of what transpired. Now, one thing, Mr. Griggs will come and talk about this as well. We want to make sure that we very clear that we understand the position of listening to law enforcement, particularly when they give you an order or a command. Lenir understand that. We spoke to Lenir about that and the consequences that can result from that. But we equally want everybody to understand that you do not use excessive force against a child, especially in a situation such as this. The video speaks for itself. You see Mr. Lenir being, at one point, the officer having his hands around his neck, slamming him back into the seat, then using his taser in a drive stun mode, and that's when the taser actually is pressed to the body and the probes actually burning sensations to the body. Lenir has burn marks on his throat and his chest. Matter of fact, Lenir, come here for a second. Open your shirt up. You zoom in on this. This is the injuries that he sustained on his neck, going across his neck and his chest. Get back up a second, put it back up. Areas that's very sensitive, especially when electrical probes are located at. His heart is close by. We have incidents with people who have been tased or drive stun that can cause a person to go into cardiac arrest. So we're talking about excessive force in an issue that could easily be cleared up by an administrator checking the system. And his mom's gonna come back and talk about what transpired when what she was initially told and what had actually transpired and what actually happened, what she initially thought would happen, what she was told from the school administrators. But the most important thing we want to echo is that, and I say this and I echo this, I remember when I was in the military, and a drill sergeant would correct one person, and he would be very, or she would be very loud. They wasn't loud because they was upset at the person for doing something wrong. They wanted everybody to hear. And we are here because we want everybody here, not just Fulton County, the state of Georgia, but the entire United States. This type of actions, conduct, excessive force will not and should not be tolerated. This is a child attending school who is simply trying to get home. Simply trying to get home. Using a chokehold, using a device to burn his body is excessive, beyond excessive. Let's don't make no mistake about it. This is why we're here. Mr. Griggs, you want to come up and say something?
Gerald Griggs, Gerald Griggs, attorney. And we've been here too many times. Too many times we've seen the use of force by law enforcement on black bodies in this state. And it has to stop. I echo what Attorney Daniels has said. I echo what our client is going to say in a few minutes. He was merely trying to get home to take care of his little brother. He was on the right bus. You know, I've seen the media reports, I've seen the social media comments all over the place. Let's be clear. He was in the right place at the right time to do the right thing. Law enforcement overreacted, and we all know that they have a very difficult job to do, but sometimes you need to check before you encounter. The administration should have done more to check before having this encounter, because we know, and Harry knows this as well as I do, these type of situations turn deadly. And we are glad that we are here, not for a deadly encounter, because he's still here, but we are upset that we have to do this over and over and over and over again. So I want to be clear. This will not be tolerated in Fulton County, in the state of Georgia, in the United States. We've got to do better, and it starts right now. This young man was merely trying to go home. This young man was merely trying to take care of his family. This young man's injuries to his neck are atrocious. And so we want answers, we want accountability, but most importantly, we want this to stop. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it back over to Attorney Daniels, and I'm sure you will hear from my client and his mother shortly.
All right, thank you, Gerald. We're going to have his mother, Ms. Johnson Hunt, to come up and speak.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just wanted to speak on the situation of when I first received the phone call from administration, how they tried to play a completely different narrative. They called me and told me Lenir was on the bus trying to fight the police officer. He was actually on the wrong bus. They couldn't get him off the bus. They said that he gave the wrong name. Long story short, none of those things were true. He was on the correct bus. They never asked him his name. They asked another student what his name was. He was not combative. No, he didn't get off the bus after the second time because they lit them off and put them back on the bus. No, he did not get off, but I just don't feel it. Tasing him in his chest was the correct thing to do. Like, not at all.
You know, when I saw this video, I didn't, I'm going to say it's not akin to a circumstance that took place in 1955 when a black woman in Montgomery, Alabama refused to get off the bus. And I thought about it is that even in the height of the beginning of the Jim Crow law and the civil rights movement, started the civil rights movement, she was thrown in jail. She wasn't beaten, she wasn't tased, she wasn't choked. This is 1955. You're talking about 2025. Lenir is choked, burned with a taser. For refusing to get off the bus he had a right to be on. The same right that Rosa Parks had a right to be on. Just trying to get home after a long day. That's trying to get to his little brother. That's what we teach our kids. To be right. Take care of your little siblings. And even in that, he was still subject to excessive force. Because nobody asked the question. It's like I said, it's a dereliction of adults. Nobody asked the question. Simple question. They could have, the same way they told the mom that he was on the right bus, they could have looked at that office and school system and whatever to say, yeah, he's on the correct bus, let's go home. What does it hurt to even take to let the bus go, drop the other kids off, and he on the wrong bus, keep him on the bus? They didn't want to do that. They want to call law enforcement to the scene, a gun that could have turned deadly. Next, I'm going to let you hear from Lenir. After that, we're going to have some Q&A, and if you ask some questions, me and Ms. Griggs may intercept those questions, answer those questions. Lenir. You want to tell them what happened?
I know, it was just like a normal day at school. I was just trying to get home, get on the bus. And as soon as I get on the bus driver told me that I was supposed to be on the bus. And today she gonna make sure I'm gonna get off the bus, so don't even sit down. So once I sit down, she pulled up to the administrators. And the administrators get on the bus. And they automatically thought I was on the wrong bus. When she told them my name, they got on the bus and just told me to get off the bus. At first I refused, and then when I was refusing, they said if I don't get off the bus, all the students have to get off the bus. So once all the students got up off the bus, I got off the bus with the students. And then as soon as we all get off the bus, they didn't check nobody's names, they just told everybody to get back on the bus. As I get back on the bus, they told me to get off, and that's when they called the officers. When I sit down, the officers had came on the bus. They asked who was the student they was talking about. And the bus driver had pointed me out. They came back. They asked me to get off the bus. I had refused and told them this. Well, I was trying to tell them this is my bus, but the students was telling them that this is my correct bus. All the students on the bus was telling them this was my correct bus. Then, out of nowhere, one of the officers had said, if you don't get up and get off the bus or we're going to tase you. I said, I still refused to get off the bus. And that's when they tried to pull me and grab me. And when I got back up, when I got back up, he had choked me, tried to choke me. Then he tased me. And when he tased me, I got up. I don't know, my adrenaline was just rushing. I just know that he tried to tase me again while I was getting off the bus. I jumped off the bus. And when I was off the bus, they put me in some handcuffs. And the officer who tased me had started slapping me while my hands was in the handcuffs. He was slapping me, then he tried to tase me again while my hands was in the handcuffs. That's when the administrators came back outside and tried to break it up. But he was already in the midst of slapping me. When they broke it up, he was still running towards me. He was still trying to attack me while my hands was in handcuffs. He was trying to push against the administrators who was holding him back every time he seen me. When I was in a room with the other officers after this situation, when he seen me, he tried to attack me again. They had to pull him back and pull him away to cool down. But when I was in the back room, they called the EMS. EMS had checked me out and told them that I needed to go to Grady. And they said, no, I'm not going to Grady. I'm going to Rice Street. But the EMS told them, even if I go to Rice Street, I'm going to still have to go to Grady first. So they volunteered, the officers volunteered to take me to Grady. And I did not go to Grady that whole day. I went straight to a police station, and they held me in the police station until they had gave me a ticket and sent me back home to my mother.
All right, so like I said, we want to put this in context. As you can see that it was just not an incident that took place on a school bus. That's what we call, an officer is rendering what we call gratuitous force. Force is not necessary. We don't believe the force on the school bus was necessary or warranted, especially when our client was in handcuffs. And this was a out of control officer, out of control, completely unhinged, out of control. You can see the video of him using profanity towards Lenir, and the fact that he's trying to, according to Lenir, he's still trying to go after him. You know, Lenir may weigh 130 pounds soaking wet. You had these two officers, grown men out there, that could have easily handled and controlled this situation. And Lenir was afraid to go to the hospital with him. He wanted to go to the hospital. He just didn't want an officer to take him to the hospital, especially an officer who was continuing to try to assault him, but he was in handcuffs. So, like you said, it's more to this story for all the ones who talk about he should get off the bus. Well, when he got off the bus, they put him in handcuffs, he was still being assaulted. See, it's more to what you see on the video, you know, and it's a reason why we believe why Fulton County and the Fulton County police department suspended this individual. What's his name?
Jimmy Durnin.
Durnin. So, you know, we just want to make sure that his story get told. Next steps, we'll see what next steps are. I know a lot of questions, what's next? Well, first and foremost, we all want accountability for those who are responsible. And what I'm hearing, it just wasn't the officers, but also some, and I said before, some missteps by possible bus driver and administrators. And those things should be they should be held accountable for their actions and investigated so this type of incident don't happen again. With that being said, we're going to open it up for some questions.
So to be clear, Lenir, was he charged?
Yes, sir.
So-
Okay, what was the charge?
I had resisting arrest.
Can you step up to the microphone?
Yeah, so what are you charged with?
Resisting arrest, disorderly conduct, and obstruction.
Resisting disorderly conduct and obstruction. And also he's currently under suspension. I know we're on the Christmas break, holiday break, and he's currently on suspension from the school, to my understanding. Is that right, Mom?
Yes, sir, for 10 days.
So that's something that we actually have to deal with as well, particularly this incident and how this incident arose as to whether the suspension should have been warranted in this situation, especially when you're aware now that he was on the correct bus. Go ahead.
Yeah, just two questions. The first one,
You gonna get two of them, Mama? You gonna get two of them?
the first one is, why in the first place was he even identified as someone who may be on the wrong bus? That's the first question, and you answer that.
Yeah. So that question we don't know because that's the same bus he rode every day. Was the same bus driver?
Yes, but like she's new. But
Sure.
she came a couple months ago. Like a month or two ago, and she liked to pick on the boys. We feel like we realize she be picking on the boys. Like we have other situations of people who's supposed to ride the bus, and she had them get off the bus. Like,
So you had ridden on that bus with that driver repeatedly prior to that?
yes, sir.
And let me stop for a second. And that's why, let's go back to his question. That's why such an anomaly. He was just on the bus. He rode the bus. So I'm the question as to whether the bus driver have a memory issue. You know, if is a female bus driver.
Yes, sir.
If that's the case, she should not be driving children. If you can't remember from the day before a child get on your bus from the next day, you know, so that's a great question you asked. So we don't understand why did she assume that he didn't supposed to be on that bus. He just rode the bus.
And this is probably a better question for the district, but it seems to verify that would be, I would imagine they have a roster of names and who goes on bus A, B, C, D, E. I mean, what happened between the time the bus driver said he shouldn't be on it to the mess that they're in now?
Well, I think that is a great question for the district, but my response is nothing. They didn't do their job. They could have easily checked. And the bus, to my understanding, the school bus is like an extension of the classroom. You know, who's supposed to be on this bus, you know, because you got to ensure child safety, the safety of the children to get back and forth to school. So, you know, that could have easily been verified. It was verified at Mom that he was on the right bus. It could have been verified the day of if we'd have not been here today. Next question.
Well, how old are you and
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Here you go. I'm trying to be fair to the women and everybody out here. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry, sir.
How old is the younger sibling with you?
How old is Kingsley?
And to what extent is this sort of routine for you to go home and take care of him?
He's 6 years old. So he's, even if he didn't have autism, he's not old enough to be at home by himself. So his big brother would go and make sure he was okay at home. Hey, go ahead.
And how old are you and what grade are you in?
I'm currently 18 and 12.
He's a senior, he's 18. Go ahead.
So no plans in place right now for any specific legal action against the school district or the bus driver or the officer?
Well, I knew you was going to ask that question. So let me just say this. First and foremost, our first step is to get Lenir back in school. All right, the suspension, we'll be working with the school and with his mother to see can we correct that issue. And move from there. You know, it's always an issue as to whether legal action be taken in these cases. I mean, at the end of the day, you see his neck, you see his body, you know, that's injuries, you know. So when you look at those things and somebody's responsible for those, and sometimes the only way you can hold those accountable is by bringing legal actions. So let us be clear that we're going to seek every avenue from administrative as well as all the way up to the United States District Courts and the federal courts to get redress for Mr. Lenir for what transpired. Because it's not about in Fulton County School, and I hope they're right. You know, I've had rumblings there. They may be wrong that this officer had prior incidents and bad acts and conduct, but it's an isolated incident, according to them. But other people tell us this is not isolated with this officer. That he tased another child on another day. You know, we haven't verified those things, but that's what we're being told. So we want to ensure that, one, accountability is not just for Lenir, but everybody else child that go to Fulton County, to Langston Hughes High School or any other school within the state of Georgia. And those are the main things that we are pursuing here. It's not just about, and I have a good friend that always say this, these cases are not about finance. These cases are about family. You know, your family, my family. And Mr. Griggs said it, we're thankful that Lenir is here. I know some of y'all I've done stories with, and I see some of the familiar faces. We had cases where the mom or the family members on the standing here because the person is no longer here. You know, when you bring a gun to a incident, you never know what's going to happen. And we're just thankful that Lenir is here to tell his story. Any other questions?
Yes. Lenir, I want to hear a little more about your state of mind. What were you thinking and feeling in those moments? A lot of people are saying you should have just listened to the cop and dealt with it off the bus. What was going through your mind? If you could step up to me.
You want to talk about that?
I mean, I can.
All right, go ahead.
I really don't remember what I was thinking, but all I know that I was feeling scared in the moment once the officers got on the bus. They got on the bus very aggressive and acting like they didn't want to solve a problem. They just...
Were you in like a fetal position at one point against the seat? I'm trying to picture what the seat blocked by the camera.
No, I was actually just shaking. I wasn't in no fetal position. I was just shaking my head. Yeah.
To what extent were you able to try at least to explain to the officer and to the school bus driver that you've ridden that bus numerous times before?
Yes, sir, I have, and the whole bus was saying it. So me and all the other students on the bus was telling the bus drivers, the administrators, and the officers that I rode the bus.
Yeah, so it was not just Lenir. The other students were saying he on the right bus. They would know. They see him every day. This is friends. They know he's on the right bus. They live in the same neighborhood with him. So, you know, and that's a question you asked, but you know, let's not just focus on the incident of why you just didn't listen to the officer, but he told you after the fact that he was in handcuffs what the officer did. So that's another component to this case, particularly the officer's mindset. You know, I was working law enforcement in North Carolina. And one thing that you definitely taught not to do, when a person is subdued, handcuffed, non-resistance, you use no force. It's over. And even after the fact, according to Lenir, and we'll get the body cameras, I mean, obviously we've seen the video camera taken by one of the students on the bus, the cell phone, but we get the body cameras and see what that body cameras show after the fact. And if this officer was the model officer, Mr. Grigg, and he did everything right, I'm sure Fulton County would have suspended him. So there's more to this story that's going to come out. And I echoed before, it's more to this officer past conduct that's going to come out as well. Any other questions?
I would imagine too, I mean, not paint the situation with a broad brush, but in light of how that officer acted, you would call for some type of review of policies and procedures, SOP, when it comes to the school district police department?
Right, absolutely. We have school resource officers. Those officers should have some type of temperament and training, because you're not dealing with the public per se at large on the street. You're dealing with ambitious, vulnerable, young youth students. And you should have some type of measure, particularly when you're dealing with students. He treated Lenir like he was somebody downtown Atlanta, who refused to get off a MARTA bus as such. And we're talking about a school bus. You got to put that in context. Girl, we're talking about a school bus. One, he's a student that's in school. They're doing what we all supposed to do: go to school, get your education, and graduate. And the issue was where you're not getting off the bus, and the officer immediately resorted to violence. It's violence. There's nowhere you can cut it. It's a violent encounter that was not warranted. You had two officers. I'm sure Mr. Griggs and I, if we wanted Lenir to go to this car over here, we can grab him and pick him up and take it over there. But using a taser to burn his body, these are going to be permanent scars. These are going to be permanent on his body. He may be 40 years old and these scars still may be here.
How much do you weigh?
Around between 115 and 120.
115, 120.
And did you ever get medical attention? You mentioned you never got to Griggs.
I did, but the next day.
How are you doing now?
Here's one thing before you answer that. Here's one thing I want to clarify and make sure people understand. In Georgia, regardless if you're a high school student or a regular student on the street, regular person on the street, if you are unlawfully encountered, you have an absolute right to question that encounter. And so for those who are saying, oh, he should have just obeyed the officer, he should have done what the officer said, that's not what the state law and the state constitution say. So I need people to understand, as Mr. Daniels has said, simply because he goes to this school, and Tinker versus Des Moines will tell you that he doesn't shed his constitutional rights. And so for him to be on the right bus at the right time and to be assaulted like this is atrocious. And for the ticket that was given to him, I'm sure the solicitor, when he reviews the case, will recognize that Georgia allows for people to use their constitutional rights to question an unlawful stop and an unlawful detention.
Can I ask how you're doing now, Lenir?
Right now, I'm doing all right, but my body, where my chest, where I got tased, that it still burns. Throughout the day, it feel like I'd be on fire, literally. It burns so bad, I'd be in the house just making noises.
And how do you feel about coming back to school when it starts back up?
I'm not against it. I still come back.
Mom, you want to, how you doing?
Yeah, we got a couple more questions. Come on, Mom.
Mom, just the fact your son did the right thing. This happened. As a parent, we all give a kid a right. How do you put that into play? How do you feel about this?
Like I said, when they first called me, the narrative they played was completely different. And I was like, okay, if he did something wrong, then you guys handle it. But then when I got the complete truth, it hurt, because at the end of the day, he was on the right bus. He didn't lie to anyone. He wasn't trying to fight the police officer. And if they genuinely just would have asked, they would have knew that he was on the right bus. And it's just scary, because he could have died. You tased him in the middle of his chest. He could have died. That's the only thing I think about. No matter which way it goes, no kid is perfect, no family is perfect, nothing is perfect. But the police officer was out of line with that completely. It could have been handled a whole nother way.
Has the principal reached out to you? Have you heard anything outside of the suspension?
They didn't reach out to me. I came the next morning because, like I said, When I originally spoke to them, they told me Lenir was going to jail. For 4 hours, I had no idea where my son was at. They called me back and said they were bringing him home. Then the administrators called and was like, hey, Lenir is at Rice Street. We gave them the numbers, and I'm like, no, ma'am, I just received a phone call from the police. They're bringing him home. This 4 hours later. So you guys just had my child somewhere for 4 hours. No one's telling me what's going on. No one's communicating with me. And still didn't get an apology when I came to the school Friday.
Did the school tell you that he was on the right bus?
When I spoke to the administrator and he looked it up, and when I spoke to Mrs. Green that day after Lenir got home, and he told me that he was on the right bus, and I was speaking to Ms. Green, and she was looking it up, she said it is 2 buses that come in our subdivision because our subdivision is so large. And both of those buses, the children are either one of them they're allowed to ride either one, and Lenir was on the bus. So those are our buses. Same bus he's been riding for the last 2-3 years. Shouldn't have been a problem. And it's kind of happened 2 weeks before. The bus driver was told this was his correct bus by administrator, so we never should have got there on Thursday. Never.
All right. One last question.
Real quick, how long is the suspension? Is it indefinite? A couple weeks?
It's 10 days.
10 days?
It's a 10-day suspension. Listen, guys, thank you. We keep y'all updated as this matter proceeds forward up until we have to file a federal lawsuit. Hopefully, we don't have to get to that point, but we are going to seek all redress for our client, Lenir, in this case. So with that being said, thank you. Happy holidays. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Good job, Mom.
Your last name, Johnson Hunt?
Johnson Hunt.
Hunt? Yeah.
Like
Hunting. Is there a hyphen?
Yeah, it's Johnson Hunt.
May I have the spelling of your name as well?
SHARRITA.
And it's Johnson?
Yeah, Johnson Hunt.
Is it 2 hours you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you so
Same
much.
with you.
Appreciate y'all talking.
Thank you.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The rhythm, the rebel.
Oh, yeah. I need to download it at this point. I was so glad.
Oh, yeah.